Welcome back to the Upper Tier Podcast, the football podcast we bring you each and every week on the Dynamo Podcast Network. This is your Leeds versus Liverpool big match preview. Joining me, a man who hasn't been on in a while, but back by public demand. Deano, how we doing, my man?
I'm doing very good, man. How are you doing?
Good, yeah, not a bother at all. Great to have you back on again. I think what the last one we were on was the rise of the Milans or something, was it? Or?
Yeah, I think was it the Barcelona or Milan one? I think it was
Might
the
have been,
Milan
I'm
one,
not
was
too
it?
sure. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think it was the
I
one
remember
where
we
we
did
were
about
doing Inter
fucking.
AC or something, yeah.
I think we did four in about 2 weeks or something, didn't we?
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, absolutely. Listen, great to have you back on, back with the season, of course. As always, if you want to contact the show, we're on YouTube, Dynamo Podcast Network. We're on Twitter at _upper_tier. You'll get us on Facebook and Instagram as well, the upper tier. Or if you want to listen to audio versions show, you'll get us on Spotify. Let's get into this. One of the big games of the weekend, the Super Sunday game, as it should be. The rivalry rekindled. Leeds versus Liverpool, a packed Ellen Road without a shadow of a doubt. Going to be a daunting one for these Liverpool players. Before we get into it, this FIFA ban thing, what you're thinking on this? It's nonsense, isn't it? Really?
I don't understand. I don't understand it because I read a thing that said Rafina had rejected the call up. Because I reckon what happened was he knew that he had the quarantine, so we'd be missing 3 games. I reckon he just said, "I'll skip my debut and play the Premier League." But then if he rejected that and then he still has the ban, and then I don't understand why Richarlison got an exemption. And
Yeah.
Klopp is saying the 3 of them in the squad. Bielsa said he doesn't know what's happening with Finn. Nobody seems to know
Yeah,
what
well,
the story is yet.
it's a kind of a weird one, isn't it? I mean, these players and Klopp himself, obviously, but also Alisson and Fabinho, they weren't allowed to travel home when they lost family members for funerals and all this kind of thing. And yet then there's an insistence that they go back to play nothing games in an international break. And then you see what transpired at the game as well. So obviously COVID restrictions weren't being followed. Players were sneaking in the back door, matches being called off.
Like, just say if they went to Brazil, yeah.
Mm.
If they fly to Brazil, what do they have to quarantine? So they were missing. Are they going to miss 2 games? So they're only they're over there for 2 weeks for 1 game. Because what happened to lads from Argentina that got taken away? So what was that all about?
The ones from Argentina was basically they said that they had gone over at a certain time or through a certain route. And they were trying to, I think, from what I can read, I think they were trying to portray it that they didn't come from the UK, that they were kind of already there, but the paperwork was falsified and the COVID officers found it. But what I couldn't understand was the COVID officers were obviously at the stadium. They allowed these players get off the team bus, go into the dressing room, get kitted out, clearly go out for a warm up, so they knew that they were there. Come back in, get kitted out, and go back out to start a match. And then 6 minutes into this match, they run onto the pitch like it's a scene from Prison Break or something like that. You know what I mean? It was the weirdest thing ever.
I think like the lads were there. I think what did you say, 3 or 4 days before that.
Mm.
So what was? I don't know. I literally haven't got a clue. I've seen all the hullabaloo about, but I really don't have a clue like what way it worked. You know what I mean?
I think the talk was that the COVID officers didn't have access. They obviously couldn't go into, say, the Argentinian camp. So they obviously had to wait till the players. They weren't sure, first of all, who was going to show up and who was going to play, because obviously you don't get team news and all that stuff until an hour before the game. But they would have obviously observed these guys getting off the team bus, because there's obviously, when they get off the team bus, there's obviously COVID checks. They scan barcode stuff, QR codes. They obviously do temperature checks, and all that kind of stuff still goes on as testing goes. So they would have known who was there. They would have had the list, but they obviously wanted to make a publicity stunt out of this. And that's kind of the way it went. But it was just, the whole thing is a disaster from start to finish. And then FIFA coming in and absolutely, trying to throw their twopence worth in by throwing this ban on the Premier League and stuff like that and all. It's absolutely crazy. Like Klopp laid it out this morning in his interview, and he said, every bit of this is wrong. Every single stage of this is wrong. How could you expect a club to expect to quarantine their players in a hotel for 10 days, eating junk hotel food, not probably being able to train, and then it might take them another week or 2 to get back up to fitness and match speed and stuff. So in effect, you could be nearly losing a player, or in our case, 3 players for nearly a month. So that's not acceptable in the middle of a season.
And the funny thing is, what's in 4 weeks? Another international break.
Yeah, and it's all friendlies. It's all friendlies.
And then your players don't come. You have to come back then. It's another month. So you're talking from the start of September to nearly the end of November, just for six games, 3 group games, and then 3 friendlies.
Yeah, they'd nearly be back for 2 weeks, gone on international break again, and then quarantining again for another 10 days. So you'd lose them again for another 2 to 3 weeks. So literally in a 2-month period or 2.5-month period, you're going to lose your players for 6 weeks. That's great. That's half the time. Can't do that. That's unacceptable.
Like, not just saying because we have them, and Brazilian players are unbelievable. Like, our best player is probably Rafinha, or probably Phillips, and then Rafinha, which is huge for us. And then you have Deano, your goalkeeper, and Firmino. 3 starters, like.
But then it's across the league as well. Like, I mean, Chelsea with Thiago, you've got Ederson at Man City, and I think Jesus as well was involved. Like, I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous.
What happened with Richarlison? Why was he exempted?
I don't know. Maybe he had an injury or something, did he? Maybe he was carrying a knock or something, and that's why he didn't travel or something like that. Because I think Firmino's in the same boat as well, because Firmino is injured. He's injured anyway. So,
like, they told him that he still can't play. If he's fit, he can't play this game. So I don't see what.
I think they're probably coming from the point was he injured? You know, that kind of way. Maybe they're questioning the club's communication, if you like, possibly. But it's just absolutely crazy, isn't it? Like, did they try and disrupt the season like that? Like, it's just madness. We didn't get you on for the transfer window at all, and like, it was absolute madness. What a transfer window with some of the players that moved around, especially Ronaldo. I know you'd be a big fan of Ronaldo and all, and you probably were. Yeah, you were probably
back.
Yeah, you were probably licking your lips at the thought of him going to City, were you?
I sent so many messages into the group for all the lads that United fans. I sent so many messages into the group, and then literally from 10 o'clock nearly 11:30, he was signing for them. I was like, oh, here we go.
Yeah, you're trying to delete the messages and recall them and everything.
Yeah.
Oh man, you want to see the podcast I had ready? Manchester is blue, and welcome to Manchester with the Ronaldo silhouette and everything and all. It was devastated, but so look at either way, it's good to have him back in the league. It'd be great to watch him again. In terms of your transfer business, obviously Dan James, Junior Firpo, Jack Harrison finally made the move, which was huge, I'd say. And then going out, Alioski, Pablo Hernandez, and Helder Costa. What was you thinking on your transfer window?
What I wanted was a 10. Like, we need the left back, because we knew Alioski wanted a new contract, and he wanted to start. And he wanted to play games, and when you get a Barcelona left back for 15 million, you have to take him, and a Spanish left back for 15 million. You know what I mean? Harrison been with us for this is his 4th season now, 3rd season. So that was a no-brainer. For 11 million, what do you get? 8 goals and 8 assists, or 5 goals and 8 assists.
It's going to really about time he became a Leeds player, isn't it?
Yeah,
really.
like
officially, like
probably that Leeds probably longer than he's been at City, if you get what I mean. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then Dan James, Bielsa loves Dan James. Because I remember at the Derby press conference when he was saying he's employed on Derby and all, he put up his screen of his laptop, and up in the top right-hand corner was Dan James in a folder. So we were all like, that's a bit weird. Like, and then obviously it came out the next few days, because that was January or December, that Leeds were linked to Dan James, and the last day obviously fell through and stuff like that. But Bielsa loves him and Ryan Kent. Like, we're gonna be linked with Ryan Kent till he dies. Like, I don't know what Bielsa. I think Bielsa would have liked him as his number 10, but he wasn't gonna spend the James money, the Harrison money, Firpo money, and the Kent as well. Like, he doesn't. I don't think he likes spending money. Like, I think he'd love a whole team full of free transfers and say, "Wait, none of you are special. You are all in the same boat now. I didn't pay as much for you." You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's kind of like spend very little and uncover a few gems type of thing.
Yeah. Oh, stop. We linked with Rodrigo de Paul. He went to Atletico Madrid. He is unbelievable. And we're linked with a man Cuna of Hertha. He also went to Atletico Madrid. So all the Leeds fans are like, yeah, they're 2 Leeds players on loan at Atletico Madrid until they finally come home and stuff like that. But yeah, I think a 10 is what I want. See, I don't know what happens now with James and Harrison Rafinha. Like, you have to paying 25 to 30 million for James. You don't know what is he going to be sitting on the bench or playing, you know what I mean?
Well, you would assume he's going to be playing tomorrow, isn't he? Or sorry, Sunday, I should say. You there?
You all right there? Yeah.
Yeah, you're back. Yeah. Went off there for a second. Not a bother. Yeah. No, I was saying Dan James, he'll play on Sunday though, won't he? Obviously with Rafinha out.
I don't know. Bielsa is so weird. Like,
I suppose
he's a,
assuming Rafinha's out, I should say, obviously.
assuming Rapinoe's out, yeah, but there is a kid as well who we have, Somerville in the 23s. He looks unbelievable. And with Bielsa, like, if we sign a player, he doesn't play for like 3 or 4 weeks till he knows the system.
Yeah.
Now, you might have to, because against Liverpool, you can't be expecting to throw a young fella in there. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
And Dan
No,
James is a puller, like, who he
Mm.
also doesn't know the system yet because he's only training with us since, what, probably yesterday and today and probably tomorrow. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose it depends what comes out of this whole FIFA ban type thing. You know what I mean? It might be all resolved overnight. They seem to be pushing to get it resolved anyway, so it could end up
But then it
maybe in
could go
just
right up till
fines.
2 o'clock.
Yeah, well, I suppose the thing about it they were saying as well is they were saying that like if one team plays their players, they would concede it. They would concede a 3-0 loss to the other team, basically. But I wonder what happens if both sides play their players.
They'll do on. They'll relegate us. Everyone in England hates us, especially our
Yeah,
clubs. They'll just
yeah.
relegate us. They'll do anything for us. But yeah, I don't know what happened, but I would like to be able to say to Klopp, yeah, we're playing Rafinha, yeah. Leave him out of the team, let Firmino, let Alisson walk out, get that 3-0 win and bounce.
Can you imagine the team news? Yeah, we're all good.
Do you play, does the match play if Fabinho's there? Like, just say if Alisson's goal, does the match actually go ahead, or does the referee say, no, you can't play and the whole game stops it?
I think what would happen because of TV rights and broadcasting money and all that, the match would go ahead because there'd be a riot in the stadium if it didn't. So
Yeah, sure,
the match would have to go ahead, and then the referee would have to leave it in the hands of the Premier League and FIFA and the Brazilian FA to decide whatever they want to do. There is an article there that describes what should happen, but it doesn't describe that like a match would be called off or cancelled because especially with the Leeds fans, imagine at Ellen Road against Liverpool. Imagine there would be an absolute riot, so I can't see that happening. Let's get into current form there at the moment. I mean, safe to say, like you haven't like set the league alight in your first 3 games.
Yeah, no, I haven't been happy at all. Now, I thought the Everton game was the only game we probably should have won. Yeah, that could have went either way. In the draw was fairer, but Everton did have the chances. Calvert-Lewin, Mr. Sitter, and Leeds did have the chances as well. Obviously, the Man United game we got bashed. We got that great goal to get back to 1-1, then we just fell asleep and just scored 4 more goals. Like. But the Burnley game was we were losing 1-0 and they had us in the back foot like. And it's Burnley. They've been a Burnley got 1-0 up against anybody. Right, you know that defender on. I mean.
Yeah, I suppose the disappointing thing was really the United game because I was looking at Leeds and they looked like they were way off the pace against United. It was like they nearly hadn't had a pre-season. It was like they were playing in one of these, these pre-season international tournaments or something like that, like an Audi Cup or something. Because United just seemed to be so much faster to the ball and so much fitter. So they, as you said, they fell asleep. They just dropped off, and then when you drop off against the likes of United, they will punish you and stuff like that. So that was kind of a disappointing start because the build up to it was great as well. First game of the season, and the rivalry and all that would have been pretty cool.
But yeah, there's been a lot of that about the fitness as well. Like I don't know what the story of that is because Burnley and Everton game as well, we looked very. Lackluster. What would you say?
Lethargic.
Like you haven't, It's like I don't know what way to explain it. Yeah, as you say, it's like you haven't had a pre-season. They were just slow and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know what the story is. Hopefully now, I hate international breaks, but hopefully this is one where he drills into them and all. But then again, most of our team now we're at the move into the Premier League. Most of our team are international players, so they're all off for them 2 weeks. You don't even get a chance. At least in the Championship when it was the international break, we had 1 or 2 on international break. The rest of the team was still there, so you had that free 2 weeks to bait his ideas into our heads. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go through the predicted lineups for Leeds. Obviously, Meslier, Ayling, Lorente, Cooper, Dallas, Rodrigo, Click, Harrison, James, and Bamford. What you think is that what you're kind of thinking at the moment?
I don't know about Dallas yet because he left the Northern Ireland camp early and there hasn't been any word since. But Bielsa said today that him, Click, and who was it? Him, Click, and someone else was available. So it could just be nothing. But yeah, it could. If Firpo, I think if Firpo is fit, I think Firpo will play left back, and maybe Dallas, Phillips, and probably Rodrigo, or depends who he tries to play 10. I don't know what way he's gonna. You just sometimes you can guess his formation, then he'll do something weird and he'll just throw someone in. But Dallas has played, I think, every position for us since we got there. So he'll just throw him anywhere, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's a very important player for you, Dallas, as well, isn't he? Like he's 100% in most games, isn't he?
2 years ago, well, probably 3 years ago, we would have got rid of him the second time I was here. And then Bielsa was just switching him, that change, and he's just been unbelievable.
Got him in the corner of a dressing room and told him what's what. Probably, I'd say. Put the fear of God in him.
This is what I want you to do. Like, playing in every position, plays left back, plays in the centre, plays in the wing. I think one of the games he was up front for a few minutes. And I was like, oh, like the Man City game when he broke through and scored that 90-minute winner.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, definitely be interesting anyway. Firpo as well in there. Like, it's a very solid midfield there. I mean, obviously, Phillips is going to have a huge part to play in the game because, I mean, he's really the man in the midfield there, isn't he, for Leeds? So, him versus Hendo, that's going to be a real interesting battle, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's going to be class. To be honest, I think you have most of them defenders and your midfield looking at Salah, like the bloke was just unplayable sometimes, you know what I mean? Yeah, he's a big part of the team. He's obviously the number one name on the team sheet.
Yeah.
Well, you can see the 2 goals with England so far in 17 games, 17 capture a day. Yeah, him and Dallas going to have a tough game as well if he's playing in the centre.
Yeah, absolutely. Go through the Liverpool team. This is assuming now that the FIFA ban upholds. So Kelleher in goals, Alexander-Arnold, Matip, Van Dijk, Robertson, Henderson, Harvey Elliott, Thiago, Salah, Jota, and Mane. It's a who's who really of names in the Premier League, really, isn't it? How impressed have you been with Harvey Elliott so far this season, if you've seen much of him?
Yeah, I've been watching him. Yeah, he's class. Normally, I think when you get loaned out, like Premier League players, and you get loaned out the Championship, like that's kind of it. Then, and like what happened with Ryan Kent and your man Ben Woodburn, they all had a big future there. And the minute you get loaned out, it's like if you don't take your chance, like it's kind of it. But fair play to Harvey Elliott, he's been class last season. Him and Armstrong, I think he signed for Southampton.
Southampton, yeah.
Yeah, they were unbelievable last year.
Brilliant at Blackburn, yeah.
I think has he started twice or started one of the games?
I think has he started in I think more actually, didn't he start?
I think he started 3 of them, did he?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, he's been involved in all 3, but he's kind of that little cheeky kind of player, isn't he? Because if you watch the Burnley game, he was getting kicked to bits. They had to go off him for the first 10 or 15 minutes, and he kept on just getting up and laughing at them. And like, he's only a small kid; these are big dudes, but he was just laughing in their face and lapping it up. He was loving the battle against Burnley, which was absolutely fantastic to see. You know.
Yeah. It's not even that the fact that he's young; it's the fact that they're experienced and he's not, but he's the one that's winding them up. You know what I mean? It should be the other way around, like.
100%, yeah, absolutely. In terms of the key battles out there at the moment, obviously Van Dijk versus Bamford's going to be a good one, isn't it?
Yeah, well, if it was on like the start again last year, it'd be very good if Bamford would wind them up a little bit. But Van Dijk coming back in now after that injury, obviously he can come back and be still the best defender ever. But it's going to be a great battle. Hopefully Bamford's on form. He's only has 1 goal this year so far. But with Van Dijk, as I said, hopefully he is the same player, but he's not the same player on Sunday, if you get what I mean.
And I mentioned obviously Phillips versus Hendo there. That's going to be key in the midfield, isn't it? The midfield's going to have a big part to play in this game, isn't it? Because that's where the battle will be kind of won and lost, won't it?
But it did last year. When you look at it last year, most of the goals they came from corners or they came from the wing, like Jack Harrison and stuff like that. Nothing really went through the midfield at all. The midfield was just closed up for them, and then the wingers just had to do that thing and the wing left back. Like, so it was a great battle. That game last year, like that, I think. Or even though we got beaten 4-3, everyone was like, "Oh, like they're not crap, like you know, they're not a championship team that's gonna lay down." Like,
you know what you're getting with Bielsa, don't you? I mean, he has a certain way of playing, and that's it. And he doesn't deviate from it. He sticks to his guns more or less, you know. So, and it bears fruit most of the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because that's what he was saying. What was it? He doesn't have a plan A. He has plan A. He doesn't have a plan B. He has plan A too, and then he has plan A three. There's no plan B. You know
But
what I mean?
there's very little deviation in the three plans, really, isn't there? It's
Oh
only
yeah,
like a slight tweak.
100%. Like,
Yeah,
well, he's an absolute genius. Like, he's gonna know what Jordan Henderson had for breakfast that morning, and
yeah,
he'll wreck his head if he doesn't know. You know what I mean? He's one of them type of managers. Like when he goes, like, it's gonna be honestly the worst thing ever because unless you get someone like Conte, you're just gonna get your generic probably Spanish or Italian manager, and he'll get 2 years. And it's like Bielsa cares about. He was saying in one of the books that there was a little light switch, right? So just say there was two beds. You got this thing built for the players to stay in, so you don't have to go home, right? So there's this light switch, and there's two beds and light switch in the middle. Oh, not light switch, sorry, the plug socket. But it was more to the right than it was to the left. And he told your man to take it out, like he said, knock that down, and said put it back in, like so it's right in the middle. Like little
centered.
stuff like something that doesn't matter for anything, but he needs everything perfect, like, and he can't go out. He can't, like, he'll be thinking now all weekend, this is what I'm gonna do. This is the way Liverpool take the corner. So if James stands over there, well, make sure the ball goes to him. He's free. Bamford's free. You know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
the way he thinks is unbelievable.
So absolutely meticulous in his preparation, basically.
Yeah, I don't want to say it, but it's like it's like a perfectionist, but so obsessed with it to a part
Yeah.
where it's nearly a sickness. Like,
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, absolutely. In terms of the crowd, I mean, the crowd are obviously going to play a huge factor in this as well. A packed Ellen Road.
yeah,
That's going to be a real difference maker, isn't it, between this year and last year? Like last year's game was madness as well. The draw, I think it was, wasn't it, at Ellen Road? We had a great first half, and then you had an amazing second half. And a matter of fact,
yeah,
you were very unlucky in the end not to get the win, to be honest. Absolutely battered us in that second half. But the crowd's going to be fairly boisterous, isn't it?
yeah. To be honest, you're probably going to be surprised at this, but sometimes the fans, like, in some games, the fans get us over the line, but in probably most of the games, like, for the players, I don't know if they get scared or if they just can't take the pressure. But like, someone misses a shot and the crowd lets them know, and does that get them down? Like, but also we're class for bigging our players up and making the team spirit go high. But just sometimes it's pressure playing. Like Bamford last year, would he have gotten 16 goals with a lot of fans? Well, we missed a lot of chances. Like, get what I mean?
Yeah.
So like missing them chances with fans, there's nobody there to tell you that was bad. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like go again, like there was nobody there. But now, like, you're gonna hear, oh, blah blah blah, and then you be like, does that get into your head and stuff like that? So it can go for or against you, but Packed Out Ellen Road is unbelievable. I don't think I've heard a noise like it.
I wonder with Bamford, would he have missed that many chances if there had been a crowd there, or would he be more clinical, maybe, you know?
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. It literally goes either way, but it's our fourth, it's our second year back, or fourth year with fans, obviously. So it's going to be interesting. It'll be loud anyway with two sets of fans.
It's kind of really boiling down to, on our side, the players that are returning that we didn't have last season, and on your side, a packed out Ellen Road. So that's the kind of conundrum. Which, like, is it the power of the likes of Van Dijk and Matip and guys like that coming back, or is it the strength of the Leeds crowd at Ellen Road against that wave and stuff like that? And I think we'll pretty know after 10 minutes, won't we, what way this is going to go, because people are just going to get stuck in, I'd say. And
we probably 3-3 after 10 minutes.
Yeah, probably something mental or something.
He'd be like, what's going on here?
What a time for Van Dijk to probably have his worst game. Can you imagine? Like, unbelievable.
I think we really need a win soon, and it's Liverpool at home and then Newcastle away. Like, don't get me wrong, Newcastle are obviously hands sometimes. We hopped off them last season. But then again, sometimes they get that big win against somebody, you know what I mean? When they always wind up United all the time. We always grab a little win against them. It's going to be interesting, but we really need that 3 points on the board now.
So this is your time now. Prediction.
I just hate going against a team like I can't do all them players there. Salah, Mane, Van Dijk. I'll go 2-1 Leeds.
2-1 Leeds. Who's getting the goals?
Bamford and Harrison.
And I presume you're going either Salah or Mane on our end, are you?
I say Salah, yeah.
Yeah.
Salah probably about 14 shots on target or something like that.
I'm gonna go 3-1 Liverpool, but I'm gonna preface that by saying I think it'll be 1-1 at half time. That's what I think. So I think it'll be a tight game, but I think we might have enough to see off. As you said, in the latter stages of games, you've kind of been dying a little bit away. And as you said, he mightn't have had enough time to work on that during the international break. So it'll be interesting to see if that follows over. And if we could wear you down, in the last 25, 30 minutes, maybe. So we'll see what happens. I'm thinking Liverpool 3-1 anyway, so they can beat me up. Like that's what I said on the Beat the Bookie episode. So I'm not going to change it now. Why should I?
Yeah. So what do you think about Liverpool start anyway this season?
Do you know what I think? I think it's okay. I think it's been solid enough. I was very disappointed in the second half against Chelsea. I thought we would have tried maybe a few other kind of clever kind of football things, with Chelsea kind of being on the back foot and bringing on a left back for a left back when we should have been going to try and get the 3 points. It was a great opportunity. But you're talking about a team that has one of the best defenses in the world, or the European champions. And when they put up 2 banks of 4, it's very hard to break it down, But I thought we could have tried different things. I think we were trying out to the wings all the time. It was the same stuff, repetitive all the time. And when you're slinging balls into the box against the likes of Rudiger and Christensen and guys like that, they know what to do. They know where to be positioned. It's bread and butter for them. Unless the cross is absolutely inch perfect, you're not going to beat those guys, So I was kind of disappointed in that. Overall, so far, I think it's okay. I still think that we're spinning the roulette wheel in terms of injuries. I thought we would have done more in the transfer window, but obviously a month out, it was clear to see that we were just going to renew contracts and spent a fortune doing it. I think we renew contracts for most of the spine of the team at this stage. Salah's the only one that's outstanding at the moment, and I would imagine he will sign, because the options that would have been there in the past, the Reals, the Barças, all those type of teams, they're all in trouble at the moment financially, and they have their own problems, so they're not really looking to pull those players in at the moment. So we've kind of been lucky in our timing. But yeah, kind of disappointed that we didn't bring in 1 or 2 more players. We were linked with everyone underneath the sun, that was available. So it was I think it was more the press G'd up the fan base that's a little bit divided now on what happened with FSG and stuff. But I think the realism of it was that we had so many contracts to renew. We brought in Konate early. And I think we probably tried maybe to get 1 or 2 other players, but again, we were linked with about 20 and all class players. So it was kind of a little bit disappointing in the fan base. But look, we have to trust in Klopp. We know he has the plan. And like the one thing about Klopp, no different to Bielsa, is, if he was denied money and he was denied players, he'd be vocal about how much he's upset about it. He doesn't hold back, and he has no problem talking about FSG and the press.
I just want to tell you a little story there before I forget. I don't know if it was about transfers or something happened, but a story came out about Bielsa. Some upset Bielsa about that, and he came into training one day wearing a full Juventus jersey.
Yeah.
That was his way of saying, I'm pissed off.
Yeah, no, they listen, it's little subtle things that they can do. They find a way. But Klopp has no problem. Like, I mean, he was very vocal when the ESL stuff came out and all that, you know what I mean? So I'd say if he wanted certain players and he didn't get them, like a lot of people are saying, the money wasn't there. There was money there. There's no doubt Liverpool have money. Go look at their accounts. You can see that they have money and stuff like that when they do the analysis.
Well, I think Leeds was to spend more than us anyway. We're only there 2 years.
I think we were the lowest spenders. But again, we've a sort of a way of like, we could go out now at Christmas and we could spend 100 million on a player or 2 players, something like that. It's kind of whether he wanted certain players and they weren't available, like the way we waited for Van Dijk and stuff like that and all, So, look, I got to trust what the manager says and stuff like that. There's a lot of panic at the moment in the fan base about, the slightest little injury now to any player and everyone's up in arms going, I told you so. But, like, what are you supposed to do? How do you convince players to come to Liverpool to sit on the bench when you have a starting 11 like that? Who wants to come sit on the bench? Like everyone was talking about Patson Daka, who went to Leicester. Is Patson Daka going to come to Liverpool to sit on the bench? I wouldn't have thought so. You know what I mean? And then we're being linked with really top level players. Sol Niguez was the same. I would have loved to see Niguez come in and knock out to Chelsea. But again, I the problem with Klopp is I'd imagine he normally has that 13 or 14 players that he trusts. And he kind of, he doesn't use a big squad. And I think the problem for those boys is they're looking for guaranteed game time to sign those contracts. And Klopp just can't guarantee them that game time. Look at Kanate. Kanate had a brilliant preseason. Looks an absolute baller. He's a monster of a man. Sitting on the bench since he got there. You know what I mean? So what do? So you have to wait to get your turn, but these guys are just impatient. So it's difficult when you're at that level as well, trying to bring players in of the right level and the right quality and sell them the sort of story that, you have to work your way in. Like, imagine being a striker, try to come into Liverpool's front line at the moment. You know what I mean? And it's just...
Not even at the moment. The last few years, I suppose, when Jota came in, he's in class. Don't knows where the goal is. When you look at Salah and Mane, it's like...
Yeah.
Don't be wrong. Everyone's going to want to sign because you're Premier League champions recently, or Champions League champions, Champions League winners recently, like, and maybe a year or two in the bench brand, but you're going to want to have to play. If you want to play in Champions League, like, Salah Man is going to start every game, no matter what. Like.
Yeah, when you're a professional football, there's no fun in being a spectator, is there? You know what I mean? It's all well and good that you go and you pick up a medal or you win a few trophies or something like that, but did you actually take part when you look at yourself? You know what I mean? So it's...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so that's the only thing I've seen so far. Look, I'm happy enough with the start. Disappointed with the second half against Chelsea. But again, as I said, it's against Chelsea. They're European champions, absolutely spoiled for riches. So not too upset so far, but I'll tell you about 6:30 on Sunday evening how I feel. I'll have a better feel then.
I think our flight is at like 7:20, so if we win, I'll text you. If we lose, my phone won't be on. I'll be on that flight. About 6 points deep.
I'll get you on the flight tracker and I'll contact the captain and say, tell Noel he said hello to Deano.
Wouldn't that surprise me? I have a lot of lads out gunning for me.
Oh, big time. Well, listen, look, a pleasure as always having you on. No doubt we'll be chatting at some stage about the AC Milan game because I know you're a big AC fan as well, and we get Craig on as well. He wasn't available tonight, but he did want to come on. But listen, absolute pleasure going through this. As always, this has been your Leeds versus Liverpool big match Super Sunday preview. The two men behind me have a lot to think about over the next couple of days. If you want to contact the show, the upper tier on Facebook and Instagram, at _upper_tier on Twitter, Dynamo Podcast Network for the videos, Spotify, Podbean, Apple iTunes, wherever you pick up audio versions of the show, you will find these shows as well. Deano, pleasure having you back, my man.
Thanks very much, Noel. Looking forward to Sunday.